Okay, like I said before, I'm going to continue continuing coverage of the Portland situation as it unfolds and continues to grow. We got a little update here that I saw come in my timeline, or my feed. So I want to go ahead and make a video, reaction video to it, and we'll kind of dissect it piece by piece. But please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. All right, here we go.
More breaking news at this hour. In fact, Governor Gavin Newsom posted just a short time ago. President Trump is sending hundreds of California National Guard to Oregon, and he is ready to fight it. MSNBC Pentagon correspondent Priya Sridhar, who is standing by for us at the Norfolk Naval Station, where the president is attending a ship ceremony for the 250th anniversary of the Navy. You're joining us now to talk about this. So first, let's talk about what Trump spoke about earlier relative to Portland, Priya. What did he say, and what more do we know about that deployment?
Yeah, that's right, Alex. Well, we know that the Trump administration has already appealed that federal judge in Oregon's decision to essentially halt the deployment of 200 Oregon National Guardsmen for a period of 14 days to the Ninth Circuit Court. We also know, as you mentioned, that according to Governor Newsom, the Trump administration has actually decided to federalize 300 California National Guardsmen and send them to Oregon. I'm going to read the tweet that he just posted online. He said, after a federal court blocked his attempt to federalize the Oregon National Guard, Donald Trump is deploying 300 California National Guard personnel into Oregon. They are on their way there now. We're taking this fight back to court. The public cannot stay silent in the face of such reckless and authoritarian conduct by the president of the United States. And the president did address that Portland judge's decision at the recent gaggle on the South Lawn, saying that this is a judge that he appointed himself and that they should be ashamed of their decision. Take a listen to a little bit more about what he had to say about what's going on in Portland.
Portland is burning to the ground. It's insurrectionists all over the place. It's Antifa. And yet the politicians who are petrified. Look, the politicians are afraid for their lives. That's the only reason that they say, like, there's nothing happening. And you've seen it. The place is burning down, and they pretend like there's nothing happening.
The approach has been aborted.
Now, just last week, President Trump and the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, addressed a host of senior military leaders who flew in from all over the world to Marine Corps base Quantico. And there, President Trump said that the United States military should use dangerous American cities as a training ground. And that's exactly what he's doing with these different National Guard deployments in places like Memphis, Portland, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and Los Angeles. He claims that he was able to clean up the crime in Washington, D.C. in a matter of 12 days, and that's what he's hoping to do in these other cities, too. As far as what exactly those 300 National Guardsmen from California are actually going to do,
Let me let her finish real quick.
that remains unknown. We know that over in Memphis, they're not armed, they're not allowed to make any arrests, and there won't be any tanks rolling down the streets. So all of that remains to be seen, and it'll be interesting to see if President Trump talks about any of that as he makes his way to the stage behind me here. And we're also expecting to hear remarks from the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, who, of course, also delivered those 10 new directives from the Department of War addressing everything from fitness standards to grooming standards, really things that are going to impact people here on the ground in Norfolk. And of course, all of this comes on the backdrop of the government shutdown. The sailors here, the active duty troops who are stationed here in Norfolk, are continuing to work, by the way, Alex, as you know, without pay.
Yeah.
All right. So for those of you who don't know, I just recently relocated from Portland, Oregon to Atlanta, and I still have family in Portland, lots of friends, dear friends to me, live in Portland, and Portland, California, kind of where I'm from. So my take on this, like I said in the previous video, I think this is all getting overblown. That's to say to say the least, but it's getting overblown, and Portland's not on fire. It's not World War II. It's no war zone or anything like that. Portland has many problems A war zone, I wouldn't say so. They did have a lot of drugs. They have a drug problem for sure. We got to acknowledge that, right? I try to be fair and honest on this show, on my channel, because we got to call balls and strikes. And I do think that there's a lot of things, missteps that Portland did. And when I'm talking about Portland, I mean like the elected officials. There were a lot of things that they just, for some reason or another, is they can't seem to get quite right. I know they elected a new mayor and they have a new governing body kind of system. Um, we'll see how it's going. To what I've been told from boots on the ground, this is friends and family, old coworkers that remained in contact with, and things of that nature. That yes, the city has its challenges, like any city does, but it's still uh, federal federal presence and National Guard presence is kind of an overreach. Doesn't need that. That's not really helpful. Maybe it is helpful to certain cities. I don't know. I can't speak to the other cities, but I know as for Portland goes, it seems like a little bit of an overreach. Um, I think this is an opportunity actually for the city officials to actually shine as opposed to just being out there protesting. We saw in the previous regime that Mayor Wheeler during I think 2020 and all that stuff was out in the front lines protesting and yelling and screaming and all that stuff. My opinion, because it's my show, we don't need our politicians out there protesting per se. We need you out there doing your job, right? And not letting it get to where it got in the first place. What do I mean by that? Portland spent close to $1 billion on the homelessness. If you go to Portland, you wouldn't think so. You would think they didn't spend a dime. So, on one hand, there needs to be held accountable, and there needs to be some accountability. There needs to be a clear plan of how we move forward, a real way to move forward too. I mean, $1 billion. I think it was to the tune of almost 800 million, something like that, give or take. You have that kind of money, that kind of purse. You can listen. I've worked in commercial real estate. I know you can buy buildings, rehab them, and repurpose them. And for God's sake, you're the city. Like, if you need to change zoning, change the zoning. If you need to, relax some codes, relax some codes. We have a housing crisis and the shelter crisis. Get these people off the street. In my mind, with that much money, this should have been solved. So, that didn't help. Um, it's hard to run a business, and I know because I was a property manager that was in the city, like actually managing some of these commercial buildings, some of your favorite buildings that you go to for your favorite um, meals and restaurants or whatever. I probably managed it, and I can tell you it's extremely hard to do business when you have someone just sleeping right in front of your shop, and obviously, no one wants people sleeping on the concrete. That's not what we want, and we get there's a mental health issue here and all this stuff. I get it. My wife's a therapist. I understand it as much as I can, right? But this problem could have been addressed, in my opinion, and it was not. And that was the biggest failure on the elected officials. The second part, again, going back to even like the housing shortage in Portland, all these things, and the cost of everything going up. Um, Again, it's a failure of leadership. The leadership hasn't really leaned into what they should be doing. They're too focused on, I don't know what they're focused on, to be honest with you. And and then I'm not trying to sit here and bash them. I'm just trying to be honest from my point of view as a person who lived in Portland for a very long time. It was just poorly managed. Beautiful city. I think Portland is underrated in terms of like its restaurants and things of that nature. I think it's starting to get some national attention now. Keith Lee was there, and we had some other people there. It's starting to become like the food scene of one of the food cities, which I think it should have been on that list, to be honest with you, because they have some very great restaurants and things like that. I mean, Portland has a very uniqueness to it, right? Like we went to Vegas and we I was talking to someone in one of the I forget the name of the restaurant. If it'll come to me, I'll remember. But I think it was in the Cosmopolitan, and I was talking to one of the chefs, and we just, this is what I do. I meet when I was working in the commercial real estate industry. That's when I was meeting a lot of chefs and things like that, and restaurateurs, and you get to meet people you would never meet that want to lease your space just because it's a cool building, a location, whatever. So I'm talking to him, and he's like, "Yeah, the cool thing about Portland is all of your food you source local. It's all right there, right?" I'm going somewhere with this, so just hang in there with me. This is not like a food content reviewer channel. Just bear with me. Although I might do that one day, who knows? But he was saying Vegas, everything is shipped in. Vegas can't sustain itself. Like it doesn't really. It's not really what do. All the chefs order from the same butchers, from the same shipping companies, blah blah blah, whatever. He explained it much more eloquent than me, but his point was it's all outsourced. So no matter if you have the Cosmopolitan or the MGM or this person, they're all getting it from the same person. How it's prepared is how it's prepared. They might have their unique way of preparing it, but it's the same product. Where on the flip side in Portland, and they do ship things in Portland too, don't get me wrong, but the majority of it can be locally sourced. So you have your butchers, you have your farmers and things like that. They all grow their local ingredients and they cater to the local market, which is phenomenal. There's not a lot of places out in America that can do that. At least not to, maybe I'm speaking out of term here, but I think Portland is unique that way. When they say farm to table, it's literally farm to table. You can go to the farms. Just driving around Portland Metro, you've probably been to some of the farms, and it's very a seasonal menu. So a lot of places you go to it has a seasonal menu. One of the issues, why do I say all that? I'm trying to give you an example of some of the failures in leadership in Portland. When I worked in the commercial scene there, and I even worked in the residential, but we'll stick with the commercial. The permitting section in the building and permitting section of the city of Portland offices, we would submit plans and they would be on hold for over a year. Now, let me just say this. No one is for, we all want safety. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not saying they don't exist, but I'm saying me personally, I don't know any developer who does not want a safe building. We like cool buildings. We like to make them nice, up to date, so people can come and have a great experience and enjoy the city. Those were backlogged. I know developers who almost lost deals because of the city just not moving quickly enough and having you go back and correct things and so forth and so forth. And in my opinion, things were not necessary. I'm all big on fire life safety. If it's not a fire life safety issue, we're good. And use, if long as it's correct fire life safety and use of the whatever the space is, we're good. I had so many like restaurant tours and chefs, young chefs coming up and wanting to like, hey, we love this location. This building works for us. Here's our idea. We want to do this, blah, 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 blah. And they'd have a great like idea and new novelty concepts. We couldn't deliver it because the city of Portland would delay, delay, delay. Well, anyone who knows anything about running a business, delays can kill your business. You need to get that thing up and running and start turning over plates as fast as possible. I can't tell you how many times the city of Portland just put red tape everywhere. And we're like, what is going on? So, why do I bring that up and why is that important? Well, I just watched a video of the owner of Mothers, and she was complaining about how the city of Portland can't get people to come into a restaurant and or not city of Portland, but city of Portland has done a bad job in really building out the city and making it more. They relied so much on businesses and things of that nature. Well, when the commercial real estate industry took a hit and Bank of America left the building, her business took a hit. And I say all that to say it's extremely difficult to build in the city of Portland. Very hard to do. I it's unbelievably so. City of Portland has lost out on so much good talent because they were like, I can't do it. I got to go to a town over to like Hillsborough. They got their stuff together, or I got to go here because they can get me done quicker. It happened to me as well when I was trying to renovate my duplex. Again, I was all about fire life safety. They put me through the ringer. I almost lost my property, and I'm trying to add housing to the. I'm trying to add housing, and I. Not only that, the other thing it did was it caused because of the back and forth and some of the things that the city of Portland made me do that even the architect firm that I worked with said was totally unnecessary. Even the structural guy said this is unnecessary. You don't have to do this. We're overcompensating for all and these others. It cost me so much money that I just could not afford to rent it out. I could make it affordable. There was no way to make it affordable. So when you talk about affordable housing, in my opinion, in Portland, it's no such thing. It doesn't exist. You can't say you want affordable housing, but then make it difficult to build. I hope this is making sense. And I know people get angry. It's like, oh, you greedy capitalist and things like that. Well, no, like I grew up in affordable housing. My mom received Section 8. Like I know what it is to come from a family of, humble beginnings and single mom raising four kids. I get it. You try and do that in the city of Portland and do it the right way, right? I actually wanted it something decent for people, not like just slab something together. No, it was actually like what you would see on HGTV. I'm very proud of the project, but I wouldn't call it affordable housing at all because I couldn't do it anywhere because my costs went through the roof. And not only did my costs go through the roof, but when Portland started losing a lot of their tax base, they started raising property taxes to overcompensate. Now my property taxes are just ridiculous. So it no longer makes sense I have to raise rents. See the problem here? So you're creating your own problems. You're creating your own houselessness. You blew $1 billion, just about, probably over, if you for how long you want to factor it, because Portland has always had a homeless issue. You blew $1 billion just about. You make it challenging to do business there. And you make it challenging to build housing there. So there's three things right there. I didn't even talk about the education in the school system that my family put their kids through that I was going to put my kids through. And everyone warned me, nah, you don't want to do that. But we're not going to even get into that because it's not what this video is about. And this is not a bash Portland section video, but this is just to shed some highlight on how they can fix this. This is all fixable. Like if someone's submitting you permits, as long as it's fire, life safety, let's go. Let's turn that thing out. Portland, in my opinion, has created a lot of its own problems, and it could literally be one of the best cities on the West Coast. Has the opportunity to be that. I think LA is overpriced. I think Seattle is overpriced. Both cool cities, but way, way, way affordable. Portland is Portland is the last city on the West Coast that you can still get in and have that urban feel and it makes sense financially. Portland is the last city. Whether or not they'll turn it around, I don't know. But I'll tell you this, and I'm rambling now. It didn't help calling the National Guard. And I know this is not this administration's approach. Their approach is very heavy handed, but sometimes a conversation like, hey, I want to help, but here's what I'm going to need from you guys in order to help. And here's just three, if you guys can present me a plan, 3 steps, and how you plan to address homelessness, your housing issue, and throw whatever in there. The education, because like education budget is short as well. Show me how you plan to address that, and let's be a team here and figure it out. And if I can help, I want to help. But we got to fix this. I had a homeless guy walk into my house. Okay, I had a homeless guy poop in my yard. I had a homeless person walk into my renter's house. Okay, I will tell you, it is I had my newborn daughter. My son was a toddler. Daughter, wife in the house. It is a very uneasy feeling when you hear your digital lock on your front door, like going beep 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 beep, and someone's clearly doesn't know the code. And then you hear your tenant next door like yelling and screaming. That needs to be fixed. I should not have to worry about that. I should not have to come out, pick up human feces in my driveway. I don't think that's too much to ask. We should be able to drop our kids off at schools where they're safe and well funded, and they can get the quality attention and education that they need. And we should not be taxing, overtaxing our citizens who live in the city, who have been in the city for a very long time and are paying property taxes. We need to solve for that. There needs to be a way that we can ease the tax burden on the senior citizens who have owned in the city for a very long time and plan on staying there until whatever, and they shouldn't be taxed out to oblivion. These are all things that are solvable. Other cities do it. I think Atlanta has a lot of great qualities about it. I think one of the things that they do great is they don't the senior citizens can get a tax relief for their property tax if they're over a certain age. I think that's a fantastic deal. I don't see why we're not doing that across the board. Um, but anyway, those are my thoughts. I went kind of long here, kind of rambling, but I don't think Portland's on fire. I think Portland has shot itself in the foot multiple times, and I think it could all be fixed. And I think people want to fix it. I think genuinely people want to do good for Portland. I think one of the issues with Portland leadership is no one wants to be the bad guy or perceived to be the bad guy. Everyone wants to be like this perfect model person who can please both sides but really get nothing done. Reality is, you gotta sometimes have those hard conversations and do those hard things. You, there's no way around it. Again, you can't defecate on the streets. We can't sleep on the streets. We understand you're down in your luck. We're gonna come alongside you, help you out. And there's organizations that do it in Portland that, in my opinion, that do it very well. Partner with them. But hey, what do I know? Anyway, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I appreciate you guys. And we'll see you on the next one. And I'll continue to cover this story as more breaking news happens. But take care, guys. See you later.